Next November, we will be facing yet another presidential election. In all likelihood, it will be a race between Donald Trump and Joe Biden. In light of the historically low approval ratings for both of them, it's no surprise that a lot of people are considering running as third-party candidates. However, it's very unlikely that any of the existing third parties can win, which is why I'm starting another one, introducing the Cake Party, so called because we believe that you can have your cake and eat it too. Instead of choosing one side in today's policy debates, we choose both, looking for innovative, out-of-the-box, at times unethical solutions that satisfy both sides' concerns. Through this strategy, we will create a perfect country, keep everyone happy, and heal the political divide. Sound appealing? Well, keep watching as I tell you about the Cake 2024 presidential platform. Gun control. One of the most contentious issues in American politics is gun control. It's an issue that regularly comes up in Congress, state legislatures, schools, and schools. Some argue that access to guns should be limited because guns are used to kill people. Others argue that such limitations infringe on the individual right to own a gun, preventing people from using guns for innocuous purposes such as hunting and self-defense. At first, this seems like an impossible situation. How can we restrict gun ownership without limiting people's ability to own guns? Simply put, we can't. But we could try to target a cause of gun violence that isn't guns. As the saying goes, guns don't kill people, people kill people. And more specifically, people with good eyesight kill people. Think about it. How can you shoot someone if you can't see them? There have been mass shootings conducted by people of varying age, race, and gender, but have you ever heard of a mass shooting conducted by a blind person? Of course you haven't. That's why, as president, I will put chemicals in the water that damage and ultimately destroy the vision of every American. This way, people can buy all the guns they want, but there's next to no chance that they could harm anyone with them. Capital punishment. From Thomas Granger, who was hanged in 1642 for engaging in buggery with a cow, 2 goats, 5 sheep, 2 calves, and a turkey, to John Wayne Gacy, who was executed by lethal injection in 1994 for murdering 33 people, capital punishment has long been a part of the U.S. criminal justice system. In recent decades, it has come under fire for many perceived inadequacies. Some argue that capital punishment should be eliminated because there's an unavoidable risk of executing an innocent person. Others argue that capital punishment is the only just punishment for something as heinous as murder, and that executions will deter crime. There's a relatively straightforward way to reap the benefits of capital punishment without any risk of killing an innocent person, and that's to coerce the person who is going to be executed into killing someone while under surveillance. That way, we'll know for sure that they're a murderer. But who should they kill? We can't have them kill an innocent person or even a random prisoner. That would be unjust. But we could have them kill someone we were already planning on killing in the first place. Once I'm elected, I will restructure the federal death penalty system so that every execution of a death row inmate is carried out by another death row inmate. That way, we can guarantee that every person we execute is guilty of at least one murder, meaning we can bring in the next guy to execute them with full peace of mind. Foreign policy. Once upon a time, foreign policy came down to a simple choice. You encounter another person, and you either bash them over the head with a rock, or you don't. Things are a bit more complicated nowadays, but the general principles are about the same. People on Team Rock support heavy military spending, confrontation with rival powers, and military interventions, arguing that they're necessary to protect American interests and make the world safer. People on Team No Rock argue for reduced military spending, less confrontation, and less intervention for a variety of reasons such as collateral damage and financial costs. To resolve this debate, I've decided to turn to one of the most innovative foreign policy thinkers of our time, Senator Bob Menendez. Menendez was recently indicted on a variety of corruption charges, the most significant of which was him allegedly accepting hundreds of thousands of dollars from the Egyptian government in exchange for blocking cuts to its annual $1.3 billion military aid package. Now, the closed-minded might see this as an alarming sign of the decay of our political institutions, but I see an incredible return on investment. We can get everything we want, pacify threats across the globe, save money, and avoid collateral damage by putting down our guns and picking up our checkbooks. Instead of giving hundreds of billions to Ukraine to fight Russia, bribe Russian soldiers into defecting to Ukraine. And don't stop there, bribe leaders, bribe advisors, bribe anti-corruption officials, bribe businessmen, bribe nuclear scientists, bribe chefs, bribe mechanics, bribe road sign painters. You really want to damage your enemies? Don't drop bombs on them, bribe their waste disposal people. You get a bribe, and you get a bribe, and you get a bribe, and you get a bribe. Everybody gets a bribe. And world peace, I guess. Healthcare. Picture this. It's a beautiful sunny day, and you've decided to go swimming. You drive to the beach, lather on your favorite seal blood scented sunscreen, and jump in. Oh no! You found yourself in the clutches of a horrible predatory beast that won't be satiated until it's completely devoured you. No, not the shark. The US healthcare system. It's fairly well known that healthcare in America costs a lot of money, and people are greatly divided about what to do about this. Some argue in favor of increased government intervention in the healthcare system to lower costs. Others argue that such intervention would be too costly. This puts us at an impasse where we need to simultaneously spend and not spend money. But what if there was some factor other than cost that's driving up spending? Everyone focuses so much on the cost of seeking healthcare, not the number of times people seek it, which is just as important when it comes to calculating healthcare spending. Instead of trying to make it cheaper to go to the doctor, we should just make it so people go to the doctor less. So why do people go to the doctor? Overwhelmingly, it's because they're in pain. So all we need to do is make them feel less pain. And what do you do when you want to deal with pain? You get the painkillers. As president, I will give people so many painkillers that they won't know what hit them. Like, literally, if they got hit by something, they would have no idea because they won't feel a thing. Healthcare spending today is about $12,000 a person. But a year's supply of OxyContin, the greatest painkiller ever devised by man, costs a fraction of that. By replacing most of the existing healthcare system with a bottomless supply of government-provided painkillers, we can save taxpayers, patients, and OSHA non-compliant employers a fortune. Immigration. From its inception, America has been a country of immigrants. It has also been a country of people complaining about how many gosh darn immigrants there are. But why is that? Some oppose immigration on the grounds that immigration takes jobs away from Americans. Others support immigration, arguing that they're an economic boon to the country. Now, it's undeniable that immigration helps some people and harms some people. The real problem here is that the groups that immigration benefits are different from the ones it harms. That's the problem with economic benefits. They can't be directed at specific people. But you know what can be directed at specific people? A big pile of government money. All we need to do is extract money from the immigrants and then give that money to everyone who's negatively affected by immigration. But how are we going to convince millions of people to pay up? If only we had something that they really wanted. Oh wait, we do. People really want to come to America. And under our existing immigration system, the process for coming here is quite long. Surely the people waiting in line are willing to pay a good deal of money to skip it. We just don't let them because bribing immigration officials is illegal. We're missing out on so much money because of our insistence on fairness. Well, life's not fair. So, might as well make a quick buck. Once we're loaded up with bribe money, we can compensate any Americans who are negatively affected by immigration, reaping all the economic benefits while avoiding all the harms. Police. In recent years, America has been rocked by protests surrounding people being killed by police officers. Some argue that we need to seriously reform the police to prevent these deaths. Other people arguing that such reforms impede the police's ability to enforce laws, resulting in rises in crime. Other people argue for police funding to be reallocated to social services to solve the underlying causes of crime. So to satisfy everyone, we need a police force that uses few public resources, doesn't kill people, and is actually effective at stopping crime. Batman. We need Batman. Fortunately, we have decades of comics that show exactly how to create a Batman. It's actually quite simple. As president, I will extrajudicially murder use government resources to produce many orphans who happen to be billionaires. Those orphans will, just like Batman, devote themselves to fighting crime and adopt a strict moral code opposing killing due to their trauma surrounding murder. Once we've got, say, 3 Batmen for each major metro area, public safety will dramatically improve and we'll be able to redirect police funding towards social services. The best thing about this plan is that once the wheels start turning on the Batman machine, more Batmen will spontaneously appear because the traumatized billionaire children will try to fill the void left behind by their dead parents by building up a family made up of other crime-fighting superheroes. So we don't even need to kill that many people. Taxes. Only 4 things are certain in life: death, taxes, crippling existential dread, and dissatisfaction about the tax rate. Some people demand higher taxes to fund social services. Others demand lower taxes to encourage people to work and invest more. The two positions seem irreconcilable at surface level, but look closer, and there's a key distinction to be made. The funding of social services comes from real tax dollars, while the discouraging of work caused by taxes is a matter of perception. When people feel that they earn less for their labor, they don't want to work as much. Normally, the perception and reality of taxes are one and the same. A person sees that they owe the IRS $10,000, and they give the IRS $10,000. As a result, any increase in taxes has to be matched by a decrease in perceived income, and consequently, less willingness to work. But how can you be disincentivized from working by a loss of money if you don't know that you've lost money? Introducing the IRS ninjas. They will sneak into people's houses every year and steal stuff. They won't steal anything conspicuous, just things that people won't notice are missing, which will be easy because Americans love buying useless junk. Do you have 10 hyper-specific kitchen appliances that you barely use? Are you really going to notice if there's only 8 on April 16th? How many pairs of shoes do you really need? What are you, a centipede? Who needs these dumbbells more? You or the government? If your past 10 New Year's resolutions are anything to go off of, I'd say Uncle Sam needs these more than you do. Repeat this process across every household in America, set up a modestly shady e-commerce site, and boom, a massive increase in tax revenue without anyone being discouraged from working. Now, some may protest, arguing that this is just legalized theft, but hey, you know what they say, all taxation is theft, so might as well start stealing. Welfare. So sales for superlegalgoods.gov are booming, and we now have a ton of money to pour into our social services. But should we even do that? Some argue that welfare benefits should be low because they discourage people from working. Others argue for high welfare benefits to alleviate the suffering of the needy. Once again, there's an opening for satisfying both sides in the gap between perception and reality. If people are getting welfare benefits but just don't know it, then they're not going to work less because they don't think they're any richer. This means that there's no downside to giving generous payments so long as the people getting them don't know about them. While the IRS ninjas are out stealing people's old blenders and stuff, they should also be giving out generous in-kind transfers to those who need it. Maybe one will top off your gas tank. Maybe one will put some extra food in in your pantry. Maybe one will uninstall League of Legends from your computer. The point is that they will act in such a way that the people who they help are materially better off but have no idea about it. That way, they'll have both an improved standard of living and an intact incentive to work. Criminal justice. Australia. If you commit a crime, you go to Australia. 0 prisoners, 0 crime, you're welcome. Trade. So long as there's more than one country, some countries are going to be better equipped to produce certain things. And so long as that's the case, there will be international trade. But just how much trade should there be? Some argue for high tariffs as a way of protecting domestic jobs. Others oppose such tariffs, arguing that they raise the price of goods. This conundrum is the most diabolical yet, because it runs into the issue of money being finite. Every cent that domestic workers make has to come out of the pockets of the consumer. So long as we buy American-made goods, we're going to have to pay American labor costs. So, we're not going to. Instead of making goods using American labor, we're going to steal foreign-made goods using American labor. That's right. I'm legalizing piracy. Every year, billions of tons of cargo sail across the ocean. Like a bunch of chumps, we dutifully pay full price for these goods year after year just because it's the right thing to do and stealing is wrong. No more. Once the American people have regained their God-given right to become pirates, we'll be able to seize those goods at the bargain price of $0. Prices will fall because instead of paying the sweatshop workers, we'll just steal from them. Furthermore, the newly created piracy industry will create thousands upon thousands of well-paying jobs. Not only will the Americans left behind by globalization be able to make a dishonest day's living sailing the high seas, but the prices that everyone pays will be lower than ever thanks to their hard work. The minimum wage. The finite nature of money returns to screw us over once again when resolving the question of the minimum wage. Some believe that the minimum wage should be raised to allow low-income workers to earn more and live better lives. Others believe that it shouldn't be raised because raising it would lead to job loss. The problem here comes from the fact that all the money that workers earn comes from the businesses that hire them, so raising the minimum wage will necessarily lower profits. This creates the possibility of businesses laying off workers to raise their profits back up. Thus, to eliminate any potential negative effects of a higher minimum wage, we need to convince businesses, which are entirely driven by profit, to accept lower profits. At first blush, this seems impossible. We're basically asking them to throw away money. Fortunately, there's an extremely lucrative and popular venture that operates by convincing people to throw money away. The lottery. Everyone who plays the lottery knows that they will, on average, lose money. However, because the numbers involved are so big, they choose to play anyways. Ultimately, businesses are run by people, making them susceptible to the same psychological trick. Even if a business could be more profitable if they let go of employees, if we promise them even a microscopic chance of a massive payout in exchange for keeping those employees, they're going to hold on to them. Here's the plan. First, we raise the minimum wage. Then, we institute the largest lottery system in human history. For every employee that a business has, they will be granted one entry into the business lottery. If they fire or lay off a worker, they lose an entry. Now, when the minimum wage rises, the amount of payroll and income taxes that minimum wage workers pay will go up. Using all that money, we can create an absurdly large jackpot. Then, we just randomly draw from the pool of entries and give out the money to the winning business. No one's going to want to lay off their minimum wage workers because every single employee could be a winner. In fact, this plan could even improve employment because businesses will hire more workers to increase their odds of winning the jackpot. Drugs. America was founded on many things: freedom, liberty, democracy, equality. But above all, America was founded on drugs. The initial British foothold in the present-day USA, Jamestown, likely would have failed if not for the cultivation of tobacco. Thus, America might not exist today if not for drugs. Every year, millions of Americans honor this legacy by using drugs, and thousands upon thousands of our most devoted patriots go a step further by dying of drug overdoses. These acts, while inspiring, have caused a bit of backlash. Some want strict anti-drug laws, arguing that they are necessary to prevent the negative effects of drug use and drug addiction. Others want a relaxation of anti-drug laws, arguing that they are overly harsh and ineffective. A solution that would satisfy everyone would be to make it so that no one ever becomes a drug user. There would be no addicts, and there would be no people jailed for drug charges. Everyone wins. Of course, this is something that past administrations have tried and failed to do with educational programs that just ask everyone nicely to not do drugs. Perhaps it's time for more drastic action. Let's really think about how people get addicted to drugs. They almost certainly start off with small quantities. Then, as they build up a tolerance, they take more and more, which is when the more serious negative effects set in. If, hypothetically, they were to already have a tolerance before they get introduced to the drug, they would feel no effect and wouldn't continue usage. Importantly, for this to happen, they can't know that they have a tolerance, or they would just jump straight to heavy usage. This situation, where every American has a tolerance to all illicit drugs but doesn't know about it, seems impossible. But it can be easily achieved simply by putting tiny quantities of drugs in everything. Put cocaine on tissues, marijuana in gasoline, heroin on band-aids, LSD in the water supply, magic mushrooms on pizzas, and of course, Put the Coke back in Coke. Now, if anyone ever uses drugs, they won't keep using them because the drugs won't work. And unlike a typical addict, they won't respond to the drug not working by using more of the drug because they don't know they have a tolerance. For decades, the government has tried to wage a war on drugs to little to no avail. Maybe, just maybe, we can win this war with an unlikely ally, the drugs themselves. Climate change. In recent decades, human actions have caused the Earth's temperature to rise significantly. As we all know, this is because all the cool stuff humanity builds causes the giant child who lives on the sun to use their magnifying glass to stare at the Earth, concentrating sunlight onto Earth's surface and raising global temperatures. This is pretty bad for all of us. Some argue for aggressive political action to address climate change and avoid its negative effects. Others argue that such political action would be detrimental to the economy and everyday people's quality of life. Fortunately, we don't have to make any sacrifices to solve climate change if we can just eliminate a different source of warming. Just like man-made structures, animals are pretty cool, which causes the sun child to look at them with a magnifying glass and raise temperatures. So if we just got rid of a whole bunch of animals, then we can avoid climate change without affecting our quality of life. On top of that, killing hundreds of billions of animals will bring enormous benefits to long overlooked sectors of the economy, such as the unethically sourced garment industry, the unethically sourced statue industry, and the fake medicine industry. But of course, if we want to solve climate change, it's going to require a team effort. So pick up your guns, pick up your knives, pick up your fly swatters, pick up those arrows the Roman Emperor Commodus had that were specifically for decapitating ostriches, pick up anything you can find, and save the planet by killing the first animal you see. It's us or them, and last time I checked, I'm running to be president of the US, not the THEM. Blood! 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 Vote for me.